Well, I'm glad, Alice. I'm glad that you just mentioned before we get on what you mentioned, because that is a good idea. We have been working with Phil and have been noodling around ideas for the inauguration party. Really, Phil has been doing most of the work, but we've been thinking about it today. And you're right, Phil. We do want to do an inauguration party, or attend, or be a part of, or do. I think it's a good idea. I don't think we would make it a show. I mean, if we,
I don't think we do a live show.
Right. I mean, maybe down the road, live shows, but just a chance for everybody to kind of get to know each other in person and celebrate and just enjoy the experience of the inauguration. So I don't think we make it anything more than that. And then Alice and I have been talking about this all day. Like, I don't think we make it an attempt to build the Patreon or like even we're thinking about, like, would it be helpful or like be good to have? We don't know. We're working on the ideas. Like, do we like sell T-shirts, or do we as a matter of the thing just have T-shirts made and try to get some on trade somewhere? And like, I don't even know. I don't know, because I don't do anything like this. It's other departments handle this. You know, in my capacity, I usually just show up or do the tech and leave for things like this. But we do think that my comfort zone is this: is a place that I don't need to use the in-house catering, that we can watch the inauguration, that there are some like table and chairs, even if they're just cocktail rounds or whatever, that we can BYOB. We can, and anybody else can, but we'll have stuff, you know?
I'm thinking even maybe like a VFW or a Knights of Columbus kind of.
I don't think you can BYOB there, can you?
No, but their drinks are inexpensive.
That's true. That's true. And VFW would be kind of, I mean, that's ideally, it's a good cause, right?
Yeah. I mean, and all those, I think, organizations are like.
I mean, they're generally not pretty. Although the one in Revere is really pretty.
Do we care? We just want to hang out, I think, mostly is what people want to do. And watch the inauguration with a friendly crowd of people. And, yeah, so we were trying to estimate in our heads, like with people that we know would come, people that we think would come. We think we'd end up around 40 or 50 people, probably.
We think it could be 7 people, or it could be 100 people.
I don't think it'll be 7.
I mean,
the kids are off school, so you, me, the kids, and Julie and Phil is 9. So, and Tommy in New Hampshire just said in the chat that he'll come. So we're up to 10. 11 if he brings a date. So, I mean... So
ideally we need a place with some parking or on-street parking or whatever. And, you know, a good deal that we did really now 11 years ago was we rented the BB Mansion in Melrose.
The BB Estate is a nice one, too. I don't know what the TV situation is exactly.
Right, we'd have to bring our own thing, overhead projector or whatever, and to do it like that.
I mean, the Melrose Fish and Game is nice, too, if they could do a TV setup.
But we'd have to rent it out. I mean, first of all, I don't want to get into Melrose. I'd rather stay as close to 95 as possible. But I just use that as an example. But just south of here.
Yeah, south of here, north of Boston, I think would be pretty like central to where we know where a lot of our listeners are. I said RCTV and Reading is a nice space. But yeah, like a VFW or a hall like that. Phil's in the chat right now saying he thinks the idea of a place like that is nice.
Yeah,
too, because you have some privacy a little bit too. So you can kind of relax versus being in a restaurant or something.
Yeah.
And a lot of restaurants have really big, like, minimum catering orders. And
we don't want to do that. Everybody, I mean, really, we're just going to watch the thing and have fun. And I mean, I've got a speaker that we can use for music.
Karaoke?
An iPad. We could. Is it? That's after. Yeah. Alice Shattuck is. After a couple of years, you will see a very enthusiastic Alice Shattuck. So anyway, so if you guys know of like places that are especially good but very hands off, I've even thought of maybe an Airbnb, you know, that where we would be up front and say we want to have a gathering here, and that kind of thing. But I just don't do a lot of this, so yeah, that's where we are, and ideally we want to do it. We want to do it inexpensively, obviously. Or if somebody would like a trade situation, I am happy to do that as well. If you can see by brutal assault that you get from our ads before, the middle, and after the show, it's worth it.
High
For some
demand
people.
for advertising.
There's
on
some
the
demand.
Burn Barrel podcast.
So yeah. So there you go. If you have ideas, just let us know.
Yep, I threw the email in the chat, but it's burnbarrelpodcast@gmail.com. So if you have really great ideas, or if you want to help, Julie and Phil have offered to step up to help however possible. If you want to help too, I can get everybody in touch and make an email chain.
That's a great idea.
That. So
yeah, and by the way,
if you want to help organize, great. If you don't and you just want to show up, but you have ideas, great.
But at some point we're going to need to know that you want to show up,
right? So that we can get a serious head count.
Exactly. So if if just slug your email, I want to attend the inauguration party, and let us know how many. And that is that, Alice. All right, I want to move over here to. We just found out today, by the way, that Kimberly Guilfoyle is no longer with Don Jr. Don Jr.
has been seen. So apparently this has been going on over the last few months, and I don't follow the Trump gossip magazine stories closely enough to have noticed this. But apparently he's been seen with this woman recently, even a few months ago. What the heck is her name? Bettina Anderson. She's some kind of Florida socialite model, something. I don't know, but apparently, I mean, she's quite lovely looking in my opinion, but apparently he's no longer with Kimberly Guilfoyle. So he's been seen with this woman. It was her 38th birthday, I guess, recently, and he was hanging out with her and getting her presents and all this stuff. Yes, Bettina Anderson. But apparently he'd kind of been seen with Bettina Anderson, so people were asking questions, and then like he was seen with Kimberly Guilfoyle again, so it kind of went away. I wonder if they were waiting till after the election to like make it official, just to not cause any distraction in the middle of things.
Probably. And
so apparently, I didn't realize Kimberly Guilfoyle is 55 and Don Jr. is 46.
No, I didn't know.
Did you realize they had that big an age gap? I didn't think they did.
If I had thought about it, maybe. I didn't know know how old he was, but it makes sense. So I think it's interesting. She's now been named the ambassador to Greece. And so
So do you think this is like a payoff to not say anything bad about the Trump?
Is it a payoff, or is it a way to get her halfway across the planet?
I mean, both.
Maybe. I don't think.
You go away to this other continent where it's nice and a nice, sweet ambassadorship gig, and B, you don't slam him in the media.
I think that's very possible. Although,
because apparently he was being seen with this woman as early as like September.
But I think her slamming him in the media or slamming the Trumps. First of all, I don't know if she's that kind of person. She's been very nice about Gavin Newsom.
Right. Who she used to be married to.
Right. And has a kid with, or at least one, and said he's a great father, etc. So I don't know if she's a slam in the X type. So
I will tell you, I texted this news story from the Daily Mail about the new girlfriend and whatever to like it's a group chat with like two other Republican moms in our area. And you're not going to believe what I said your name to her before, so you know who I'm talking about, what her immediate reaction was. Like, what was the opposite of my reaction?
I don't know.
She said, wow, Kimberly is way hotter than her.
Oh, that's not true.
It's not true. That is the opposite of what is true.
Kimberly Guilfoyle has like a drastic makeup style that she doesn't look like she used to look 15 years ago when she was new.
It's more than makeup. I mean, do what you want to do, but I personally don't find it.
No, I don't either. I mean, I guess maybe it's one of these things. Maybe it looks better in person. I don't know. And
or maybe some people are just into that whole look. I mean, like Lara Trump's really, really done too, and I just don't get it. Like, I don't get why people do that very like Kardashian extreme thing to their faces.
Yeah.
I know Steve from Gloucester was upset what I said about Lindsay Lohan, but like I don't understand why people do this to their faces. It's very extreme and like I don't get it.
I know, and there's a way to do it. I think Ivanka looks good. She's always looked good.
Yeah, but she's very natural, I think.
I don't know who to believe anymore. But anyway, I like Kimberly Guilfoyle. We've talked to her a bunch last time around. And I like Don Jr. He's also been a solid guy just to be interview and not be like a dick during interviews and be positive. The whole family is pleasant. The whole family is pleasant. They're all good with media, not surprisingly. And I'm just not I'm not surprised whatsoever. So so that's that. The two kids have broken up. Good for him. It's fine. I've got no problem.
Which, though, the other reaction that I have is they got engaged in 2000. I mean, not 2000, 2020. Sorry, that's a lie. They got engaged in 2020. That's 4 years ago. It was like December of 2020, according to the Daily Mail article that I was reading about it. And anytime you get engaged and you go 4 years without getting married, something's wrong, don't you think?
Yeah.
You get engaged in order to get married.
Generally, yeah. Generally, it's gone off track, and sometimes you're too deeply invested. We've all been there. Yeah, no doubt about that. But, so anyway, good luck to them. I don't have much more to say about them. Daniel Penny doing the scene today, Alice. Talk to Fox News.
I mean, I'm not a confrontational person. I don't really extend myself. I think this type of thing is very uncomfortable. All this attention and limelight is very uncomfortable, and I would prefer without it. I didn't want any type of attention or praise, and I still don't. The guilt I would have felt if someone did get hurt, if he did do what he was threatening to do, would never be able to live with myself. And I'll take 1 million court appearances and people calling me names and people hating me just to keep one of those people from getting hurt or killed. I mean,
so he appears to be a model citizen and a guy with a conscience and a moral center, and a pretty upstanding guy, and it's perfect, which can be contrasted with Luigi, who's also 26, who's freaking idiots. God, I hate him. I just wish he'd turn the gun on himself afterwards. Please, if you're gonna be tough guy, weird incel assassins,
I think he was gonna go for more people, because his manifesto that everyone's been quoting says these people had it coming, like these people plural.
Yeah, of course.
So like, I think he was gonna do more.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was also enjoying all the positive online attention. They said he was on his computer at the McDonald's and he was doing it. I think he was either planning more of them. Obviously, if he was a Unabomber guy, the Unabomber did not stop at one.
Right.
But this guy, and you were listening to the commentary pod about it too, not nearly as smart as he thinks he is. I think it's a very specific type of profile.
It's the National Review.
Oh, sorry, the National Review Editors Podcast. Sorry. I apologize. Oh, you're right, because Charles C.W. Cook or whatever was
Noah Rothman's there too,
okay.
So that's why maybe you thought.
Okay, right, because he did use to be commentary. But I think it's a very specific profile, and it's kind of like what we said of somebody who thinks he's really smart, and clearly he had some kind of accident. He'd been laid off. We're already hearing like sob stories from his roommates at his special communal living spot in Hawaii where he was, and this former roommate joined them from like a place where people do ayahuasca trips, I guess. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I'm not in that scene exactly, so I don't quite know. But I think that they've already started to like put out sob stories about how he like was laid off and his back was really impacting his life and all this stuff and blah, blah, blah. Like, I think that he was a very smart guy at, for his high school, for his world. He was obviously valedictorian. He obviously went to a good college, got fancy degrees and somehow felt that the world was treating him unfairly and he was not getting the recognition that his genius deserved. And so decided to like show us all, right? And like I think he probably totally saw himself as like a Kaczynski who was smarter than everybody.
So did he have trouble in the workplace? Did he get fired from a place?
He had been laid off, I guess, from the place where he had worked for 4 years, which was true.
I know some of these
like
guys,
a computer engineer.
Okay,
Yeah.
I know some of these guys who've got personalities where they don't feel that the people around them, their employer or the people around them, appreciate their genius, and they're a little smart, and so they think that they're onto something that nobody else can quite see, and this diluted sense of self is a totally sociopathic thing. And he decided that he was going to be a hero, and it just, I mean, I'm so sick of it because these people are all over the place, and they all think they're unique cases, and they're all the same a-hole, except most of them don't kill people.
Right.
But some of them do. It's like the same way with the incel guy who killed all the girls, who videotaped himself driving this car, had a way of speaking that was very above, my tone shows you that I'm at a level you couldn't possibly. And they all just are a-holes. I just wish, please blow your heads off when you're done killing people, please. Oh, I don't think he thought
he was done. I think he thought he was smarter than everybody. Although what boggles my mind is like not realizing that they're closing it. Like they have pictures of your face, dude. Yeah. They're putting them up on the news. Everyone knows what you look like. They have your water bottle from the Starbucks that has presumably your DNA on it. Like they have your fingerprints on stuff. Why are you hanging around in the McDonald's with your 3D printed gun and your manifesto? Like, but I honestly think like he probably had some kind of psychotic break deal.
Yeah,
happen.
I think that's very possible. Obviously, this is him getting booked or whatever.
It's completely out of touch, and it's an insult to the intelligence of the American people and the lived experience.
So yeah, you can hear him as they're bringing him in there. He's like trying to wrestle his way away. Yeah, and he says it's completely unjust. He says it's an insult to the intelligence of the American people and their lived experience.
You're being mean to me.
Here's another one.
I heard you weren't acting that nice, to be honest with you.
That's completely out of touch, and it's an insult to the intelligence of the American people and the lived experience.
And there you go. I just whatever. I hate him. I as usual. My only regret is that that somebody. Not everybody hates him. The crowd at the Daily Show, they don't hate him.
Actually, obviously couldn't have been that guy. Today, they did appear to catch that guy today at a McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania. It's true. Look, I'm sorry, guys.
Jon Stewart, I'm sorry, guys. I mean, maybe you could pivot a little quickly, John, and say, what the fuck's wrong with you people? But there's nobody who is more thrilled with this guy than Taylor Lorenz. And she just blasted herself out of another job, by the way. Where was she, at Vox or something?
Well, they were, I'll tell you after. Play her with Piers Morgan in that video because, yeah. The incredible thing about Taylor Lorenz is not that she's a total Looney Tune, but that she was treated like a serious person for so long by serious publications and like had a book deal and all this stuff because she's as crazy as like Rebecca Jones.
Well, yeah.
Who's a total fraud, lunatic
Taylor Lorenz,
weirdo.
much like this kid, comes from a lot of money. Which is, I think, where you get trappings around you that
make
reinforce.
Think
and reinforce to yourself, well, I must be a special talent because... Look, I have a horse.
I do believe in the sanctity of life. And I think that's why I felt, along with so many other Americans, joy, unfortunately, because it feels like...
Serious?
I mean...
Joy at a man's execution?
Maybe not joy, but certainly not empathy. Because again...
We're watching the footage. How can this make you joyful? This guy's a husband. He's a father. And he's being gunned down in the middle of Manhattan. Why does that make you joyful?
Thousands of Americans that being murdered. So are the tens of thousands of Americans, innocent Americans, who died because greedy health insurance executives like this one push policies of denying care to the most vulnerable people. And the many millions of Americans that have watched people that I care about suffer and in some cases die because of lack of health care.
So should they all be killed then? Should they all be killed, these healthcare executives? Would that make you even more joyful?
No, that would not.
But why not?
And,
why?
So she's a psychotic. No, I'm serious. She's a psychotic. I've been saying it. She's like one of the Manson girls, just giggling and appearing at some point to take umbrage with peers. Yeah, can you imagine? Companies hired her?
Yeah, like real companies did.
Holy
frig. It's astonishing that anybody ever took her seriously. So yeah, so now Vox has been producing and hosting her podcast for her. I didn't even know she had a podcast, to be totally honest, ever since she like parted ways from the Washington Post. And maybe she does some kind of writing there too. I don't know, some kind of blog or something. I have no clue. But anyway, Semaphore, I think I mentioned briefly, I forget if I told you this offline or in the show. Semaphore reported that they were not going to renew their deal into the new year, which she flipped out about on Twitter and was like, "They're not firing me. This was a short-term deal. I own my entire own podcast. I'm going to address this on the next episode. Tune in to listen," which, like, I guess props for hustling and trying to get people to listen to her podcast. But I went and like peeked at her podcast on Apple Podcasts, and let's put it this way, it's definitely way smaller than our podcast.
There we go.
Which I know we're not like.
Cyril is throwing up on your bed.
Cyril's throwing up in my bed?
Yes.
From crying?
I don't know.
Sally, can Sally take care of the situation?
I'm watching Peter right now. So
okay. Sally. Oh, guys, this is not great.
Okay.
This is not
it's
great.
not. It's really not awesome, you guys.
Peter, stop.
Okay. Sally, take care of the situation. It is, I assure you, melodrama happening at the house right now, and they're all. All right, I'm going to continue this.
So anyway, I think probably a big part of the reason that they're not continuing her podcast is probably they're spending money producing and hosting it, and it is not.
It's not good.
It's
it doesn't
not
have any numbers. So I'm going to play this rest of this audio and then go check on the bed.
Okay.
Laughing.
I think because it wouldn't fix the
You seem to find the whole thing hilarious.
I find your question funny.
A bloke's been murdered in the street. I don't find it funny at all.
I don't find it funny that tens of thousands of Americans die every year and because they are denied life-saving health care from people like the CEO. Now, I want to fix the system. You're right. We shouldn't be going around shooting each other with vigilante justice. No. I think that it is a good thing that this murder has led to America, or really the media elites and politicians in this country paying attention to this issue for the first time. You mentioned you couldn't understand why somebody would feel this reaction when they watched a CEO die. It's because you have not dealt, it sounds like, with the American healthcare system in the way that millions of other Americans have.
I've dealt with the healthcare system in various ways in America. I don't think it's perfect by any means, but the idea that I would view it as something.
Have you been denied life-saving treatment?
The idea that I would view it as something joyful that a man has been, who's just a healthcare executive, has been executed in the street, I find completely bizarre.
It just stopped. It just stopped.
Okay.
So, okay. So Julian Bell saying in the chat, Taylor Lorenz is making Cyril throw up on bed.
Well done, Alice. The reports of the vomiting were highly exaggerated, but
okay.
But it's a protest gesture because we don't believe that they were mean to him. So
okay,
it has set him into. Okay, so later on in that interview, Tommy Lahren apparently went at Taylor Lorenz. I'm just so shocked because I don't know how she got any kind of gig. I just don't get it whatsoever.
Yeah, this is still the remnants of the incredibly bratty Occupy Wall Street movement that's morphed into 100 other movements by now, all equally as disgusting. But to celebrate the murder of a husband and a father simply because you disagree with his position at a company, or you disagree with the company, or you disagree with the system of healthcare that we have in the U.S. is quite frankly sick, twisted, and disgusting. Why you'd celebrate anybody's murder, especially just an innocent man who you happen to disagree with, is really shocking to me. But it also just goes to show that the left and many on the left have a tendency to believe that violence like this, political violence, is necessary. It's a means to an end. And if they believe in the end and they believe in the means, it's really sick and wrong. If you want to have a conversation about healthcare in this country, that's fine. Let's have that all day long. But to be joyful, or even to say you're not empathetic about somebody losing their life when they leave behind 2 young boys, especially during the holiday season, the same day that millions of New Yorkers are celebrating a tree lighting, I mean, that's just too far for me, a bridge too far. The loving and tolerant left is at it again, Piers.
Yeah, Taylor, I don't mean to be rude, but why the fuck are you laughing all the time? I don't get it. Sorry, apologies for my language, but honestly, I find it unbelievable. What are you laughing at?
I am laughing at Tommy's insane mischaracterization of why people are angry. It has nothing to do with Occupy Wall Street. This is a feeling that people feel across the left and the right. You mentioned Ben Shapiro earlier in his video about the healthcare exec. I encourage people to check the comment section on that video, okay? 100% of America is united on this, or rather the majority of America is united on this. We do not think that this healthcare system that is murdering, again, thousands of innocent Americans who, by the way, Tommy, also have families, also have children. These people are being killed by our barbaric and evil for-profit healthcare system. And I agree, we should not necessarily go around shooting people in the street. And while I am joyful that this issue has been brought to attention,
did you hear that, Piers? Not necessarily.
It's just unbelievable.
They shouldn't be shot in the streets. They shouldn't be shot in the streets because, again, it doesn't solve the systemic problem.
These are the ramblings of somebody
United Healthcare will just appoint a new ghoulish CEO. The point is
way too much time online. Because, and there's a reason I compare her to Rebecca Jones. That's, of course, the, quote, data scientist, the lady who really just designed a little dashboard for the Florida COVID website and then tried to claim, like, Ron DeSantis was suppressing the data and didn't believe science. And, like, in her imaginary world, Ron DeSantis was persecuting her, and she, like, hacked into a government system and sent out texts, like, telling everybody to, like, be brave and stand against fascism or whatever. She's a completely delusional, insane lady, and she was treated as a hero by people on the left and profiled in real magazines because they thought she was a legitimate person, because they're all too ready to believe people who confirm their own biases, even if those people are obviously cranks and nut jobs and stuff. Right? And I think, you know, both ends of the political spectrum have their share of like cranks and nut jobs.
But this but
the right wing cranks don't get profiled in glossy, serious magazines.
No kidding. You're right about that. Absolutely. They don't get positions of prestige. I mean, this is just absolutely ridiculous. And it shows that, and I didn't see this coming. I didn't see this lying anywhere. I didn't hear whispering campaigns or have anybody in a bar say, "Hey, you know, it's, you know, like, isn't it great that they massacred the Jews? Or wouldn't you love the Jews to be massacred in Israel? Or like, wouldn't you like insurance executives just to be shot in the back? Wouldn't that be great?" Like, I hadn't seen this bubbling up. I knew that there was always a fundamental hate for certain people. First of all, this might be that Brian Thompson was shot dead. Could all be about he's a white guy in a suit. And here we go. He's a white guy in a suit. And yeah, that's right. Because we've been taught that those are the worst people in the world.
Yeah,
and
although I don't actually think...
But the Jewish thing, the Israel October 7th thing would also fit in that. Because, you know, the Jews, you know, have it great. And the poor Gazans are starving. And the Jews are evil. And they own all this stuff. So you could, I guess, see that from the colonizer, you know, whole rubric, whatever. But like, I didn't see this. I didn't know that this would sprout into this kind of activity where, you know, women of West Hartford and Cambridge, Massachusetts are looking at the picture of the shooter and talking about the ways in which they'd have sex with him right now anywhere. I mean, this is you talk about like you think that the shooter might have had a psychosomatic issue because of medication. Well, he's not the only one. Because he's Taylor Lorenz, but with the extra step of executing his plan to snuff somebody out. Because if she's clapping and applauding it, then she's all for it.
Well, right. And, you know, she's in here saying fix the system. Splash in the chat says when dumb liberals want to fix the system, it's an insane utopian view where all of a sudden everybody gets free healthcare, never gets sick, and nobody makes money off it. Which is so true, because all this has revealed is the American people's fundamental lack of interest in the real trade-offs of healthcare policy. And it's not just Taylor Lorenz, like, and frankly, the right has the same problem because everybody wants to hear that the reason why healthcare is so expensive is that, you know, there's some mean middleman standing in the way who's causing it to be expensive. And that if you get rid of those people, and that there aren't trade-offs, like with the things people believe about other Western nations' healthcare systems, like these sort of Medicare for all style, like the NHS, or like in a lot of European countries, they have these sort of semi-socialized systems. People believe absolutely delusional things about those healthcare systems. They are rife with wait times. The doctors make way less. That you do not get, like, for example, in Canada, I see it all the time on food allergy groups. People will say, like, oh, I wouldn't see an allergist if they said XYZ, you should get a different allergist. Like, you can't go get a second opinion or go get a different specialist if you don't like your allergist. Our system is expensive, but we have way more choice and we consume way more healthcare, and we have way fewer wait times than anywhere else in the world. And we actually, by the way, part of what's wrong in our system is that the American Medical Association lobbies to have fewer residency spots per year. It's determined by law in the government. We have an artificially created shortage of doctors in this country. I think that it's all going to be a lot of the things that will make our healthcare system will be opening up. I think maybe this is an opportunity for like Elon and Vivek to come in, clean up some of these regulations that are rent-seeking regulations that seek to prevent there from being more doctors, that seek to, limit the types of care you can get without going in and getting an office visit from a doctor. Like, for example, you can't get your blood pressure medication unless you go in and see the doctor every certain amount of time. You can't renew a glasses prescription without going in and seeing a doctor every 2 years.
Ridiculous.
You can't do anything. You can't see an NP for lots of things. You have to see a doctor. Like, they can't write certain prescriptions. I mean, I think a lot of that regulatory red tape could be cut and would make a lot more care a lot more accessible, and also deregulating, carving out some of these regulations that are in Obamacare about the types of insurance plans and the types of medical organizations you can join. If you could get a health savings account and use it for things like concierge medical plans and stuff, and you weren't locked into these Obamacare style plans, I think we could make our healthcare system a lot better in a lot of ways by like nibbling at the edges. And
Absolutely.
I think people underestimate the level of cost that Obamacare has added into the system.
Yes, absolutely. With these mandate coverage mandates. And not only that, but remember, there are a lot of people who use the system, and I'm talking about mostly hospitals, who use the emergency rooms as their primary care physician. And they don't pay anything, and so they have full coverage. They have universal health care because they're just going in and stiffing everybody.
And by the way, I've known people, typically people who work in very low wage jobs, who are offered health insurance but do not take it. And under Obamacare, they paid the fee, or if they live in Massachusetts, they pay the fee in their taxes to not have health insurance. But it is way, way cheaper for them than the employer offered healthcare plan that's offered. And if your paycheck is, $300 a week, like it kills you to take that money out of your paycheck.
Yes.
And then to have a $10,000 deductible, if that's the size of your paycheck, like, you would never do that. And so I've known people who choose not to do that, and they do. I've literally heard people say, like, yeah, I just go to the emergency room and I get care and I just ignore the bills. And in Massachusetts, if you ignore the bills, they've clamped down on all the collections practices. It can't impact your credit. They have no way to go after you for that money. They can't sue you for it. They can't do anything. They're just screwed.
Right.
They're just out of luck.
And the health care coverage as a requirement is really part of also a government wage control measure from decades and decades ago. Mm-hmm. Where
people would offer these plans in lieu of benefits. Exactly. And so now it's tied to employers in a big way. But there should be, and in that sense, the idea of exchanges in and of itself was not a bad idea. Mm-hmm. The idea of like health insurance exchanges, because people should be able to shop for insurance individually.
Sure.
The problem is that so much of the stuff that was packaged into Obamacare, these additional requirements, the insurance till you're 26, I know everyone loves it, but the coverage of pre-existing conditions, that's the other piece, is the coverage of pre-existing conditions. While it's a very popular political piece, is terrible healthcare policy because it encourages people not to get insurance until they have a real problem.
Well, yes.
Because obviously, once again, if you're that low-wage worker, like, why would you ever buy into the insurance plan if you're healthy? If you know that you can go pick it up once you're unhealthy.
And it poisons the pool of for insurance companies,
right,
to simply be taking money from people who aren't going to take services.
Imagine if you
which is what the auto industry does. The auto industry, they live off this because most people aren't going to get in a car accident, so they just get free money.
Right.
But if you're allowed to go and get in a car accident, then go get insurance and then stick it to them, well, then it changes the industry. Right. Well, the auto insurance industry.
Right. Yeah. If you can get in the accident and then call up the insurance company and say, "Hi, I'd like to sign up for an auto insurance plan," then
which I would do.
But we treat healthcare as different because we're in this weird in between space where we are not treating insurance like insurance, and we're doing a very weird system here with healthcare, and it makes nobody happy. And what's funny is that even our system, damaged as it is, and as unhappy as everyone says they are with it, it's way, way better than what's available in other countries. Right. I mean, it's a world better. Well, and people who claim that it's not better than what's available in other countries are delusional and out of their minds.
Yes.
They're absolutely not serious people.
I know a couple of expatriates, people who've moved away out of America, who have tried to tell me subsequently when they realized I was doing political stuff, "You don't understand. You need to get out of the country, Tom," which is not patronizing at all. But, healthcare coverage is much better. And yes, I assume that if you have a strep throat or strep throat in Denmark and they can cover all of the throat culture and all that other stuff, etc., and get you your prescription, that's all free. Yes, that is great. And here it would cost a
couple
few
$100, yeah.
Exactly. That is great. But that's where it gets interesting, because it starts being less great as soon as things get serious, as you were saying before.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to get a broken leg in Serbia. No offense, Serbia, but they have universal health care in Serbia. I mean, they cover all their citizens.
You will be treated. You will get, but the thing is,
someday they'll treat my broken leg.
Yeah, hopefully there's not a backlog of broken legs, though, because you're gonna be waiting.
Or, my cousins used to always say, like, that if you call an ambulance there, like, it might show up. It might show up 5 hours later. It might not show up at all. You just have no way of knowing.
Yeah.
And it's in America, you don't worry about that. If you call 911 in America and you need an ambulance, an ambulance is going to show up.
Right.
And they're going to show up whether you're a homeless person and you have absolutely no money to pay them and no insurance, or whether you're a rich person, which is really an incredible thing if you think about it.
Yes, absolutely. Because yes, it will show up, unlike the one in Denmark, which will maybe show up, but the one here will show up and bring you to the place where your life might get saved. But you're going to get a $30,000 bill. So,
yeah.
but
which the hospital doesn't really expect you to pay anyway.
They don't
So,
but at least you've got your life is saved. So it's a complicated thing. I never really done.
It's a super complicated thing, but it's interesting too because that's like sort of the mark of this killer thing. And apparently one of the things the manifesto said was like, I don't pretend to be the person who has all the answers, but like this system is all messed up. Like, but that's the problem, is he thinks he has seen through everybody into this deep insight that health insurers are getting rich. And by the way, their profit margins are not that big.
Right.
80% of their revenue they pay out in claims because that's the law, among other things. Like, they're a very heavily regulated industry. So 80% of the money everybody gives them is all going into paying healthcare claims. It has to, or they have to pay you premiums back.
Right.
And a huge amount of the rest goes to administrative expenses for, among other things, combating fraud, which is huge coming from the hospital administrative systems. And so, yeah, we are paying a lot of administrators, both in the hospitals and in the insurance companies. And that's why I say, like, this system sure isn't perfect, but I would take it over anywhere else in the world in a second. And you'll notice there's not a lot of medical tourism to other countries in the world.
That's correct.
Only for things like plastic surgery and stuff.
Yes. All right. So the last item, Alice. Matthew Gates heading to OAN.
Yep. It seems like a step down from being nominated for.
Well, I don't think it is. I mean, he was always on OAN. Really, in the last it's like 4 years, however long he's been in there. He's been a internet star, and he's sometimes I really like him, but sometimes I'm fine. So there he goes. I don't really watch OAN. I would. I mean, sorry, I do watch it. Any Headhunters over there and Newsbusters, Newsmax. Yes, I watch that too. But it's fine. It's fine.
I don't think it's like that impressive a career move. Look, props to him and Ginger Gates for playing it up on Twitter like something huge was going to happen. It's weird. You look like a half a fish.
Oh, I like that.
But
you know what? You know what it shows you? It's like maybe the lesson from that Gates could have learned from Hegseth is stick it out, because Hegseth is now looking better. The betting markets have him getting confirmed.
I have said all along I thought Gates was the hardest one.
All right, Alice, let's go to the chat. Now, I would say on the chat, guys, and I would love that we have him a lot of messages, but on the radio, I record spots for like a Weekend 180 Weight Loss and some other things, and spots come in 15 seconds, 30 seconds, or 60 seconds, and we don't do any spots longer than that. And we don't do any spots longer than that because people trail off. People stop listening. So I'm not saying you have to stop at 60 seconds, and sometimes we've gotten really good 2-minute chats, but it's a lot of time for the listener. So if it's not hitting, and since we don't have time to at the moment go through them, it's a lot of time for the listener. So if it's not hitting, I appreciate the message, especially if it's a nice message to us, but I would say that try to think of the broader audience, because I don't want people to bail because they're worried that there's another minute 43 seconds of a private beef between two different chats. I assume that we've taught people to bail, and we taught some people to join. So I would say what's
15, 30, or 60, guys.
That would be better. Even 260s is better, because I can go. If you have 3 minutes of content to say, then I'll take 3 different 60s as long as I can mix them up, mix the messages up. That's even better. So I don't want to seem ungrateful because I'm definitely grateful. I'm just thinking of the listeners. Here we go.
Hey guys, outstanding interview with John Featherston.
Thank you.
He's just a remarkable human being, such a nice guy.
True.
I was on with him maybe like 5 years or so now.
Wow.
On his show at the height of the Menahan Murchison stuff. And he was just a nice person to deal with. And I'm sure you guys, felt the same way in the interview.
Yeah.
So great job. We definitely need more of that on the Burn Barrel. You guys always do the interviews really well, really spot on. So good job. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
No, Tom, you're not going to get an I love you from me. Alice, maybe.
Oh, here we go.
Thanks, Steve.
By the
Yeah,
way,
we love John Featherston. I've had the pleasure of doing a few different
We're
local
looking on-
politics things with him. He's
great
really
guy.
just a lovely guy.
I wouldn't be surprised at all if he's at the inauguration party,
I hope he is.
including Steve from Gloucester, who my people have almost locked in.
Really?
Yes.
Are you in negotiations?
I am indeed.
Hey guys, Paul in the car.
Hey, Paul.
Excellent segment with John Featherston.
Thank you.
Was again that was more or less I think what we thought we knew was going on, but
Totally.
to hear it right from the horse's mouth was
Incredible.
it was agonizing and infuriating, and everybody should like that episode should be like simulcasted on Joe Rogan. Like the entire country has to hear that.
Hey, thank you, Paul. I
Thank
appreciate
you for
it.
saying that because I'm sorry because I was like kind of annoyed this morning that it wasn't immediately a national story and John Featherston had, talked to me about this and I invited him to come on the podcast and talk about it. And I think it should be a national story. And I think listening to the interview with him, I'm like, oh my God, this has to be a national story. And I think your radio show callers were saying this today too. So thank you for confirming that you guys feel the same and keep retweeting it or whatever until I know we're not very big, but until somebody notices who's bigger than us, because this deserves to be heard. It really, really does.
Yeah, because he's a reputable guy.
Right. He's a serious person.
Yes.
He's not. He's been involved in his community, both in local government, volunteering on things for decades. Literally. I mean, the most community-minded, service-minded guy out there. He's not a sensationalist. He's not a whack job.
Right.
I've known and worked with him on a few projects over the years. He's a serious person.
Yes.
You being Mass residents and me being, as you guys like to refer to, I'm Mass adjacent, being in New Hampshire. But I mean, that's infuriating. That's an absolute. This has been going on so long, and you've got a person in political position that people voted in there that is permitting this and encouraging it. That's maddening.
Yes.
It's anti-American. As anti-American as it comes. These people hate you and I. They hate our country. They hate our values. And by permitting and allowing it, it is diluting and really subterfuging our entire...
Oh, yeah. And they're arrogant about it, too, Paul. They're freaking arrogant. Mara Healy sneers and snickers at you. It's freaking incredible in me.
Our way of life. If this permeates and continues, and it may be too late. I've said this before. It may be too late, but if this continues and it remains unchecked and people like Maura Healey continue to run major cities, we're effed.
Yes.
We're effed. Your kids are effed. My kids are effed. I sound like a broken record. I've said that a number of times before, I think, when referencing Kamala getting in there. Thank God we dodged that bullet. And, now we got another, quail shot with the migrant issue that I just can't wait for Trump and his team to get in there and clean house.
I know. I feel like sending a message by droid that's like, save us, Tom Homan. You're our only hope.
Right. And did we find that mildly sexy? We might have. There's this feeling in the establishment press. You can hear them talk about it. Trump threatening mass deportations. Using a tone so you know that that's a horrific and immoral thing. Oh, shut up, you people. Shut up.
And, you're going to get pushback. I think, the state of California, of course, is Newsom and his cronies are saying that, but can't wait. Get them out.
Here, here.
Get rid of them. These people are vile. They're not even human beings. They're so vile.
Well, some are not human beings. So most of them are human beings. But like cat stew guy, I don't need him around. Definitely. And the other guy who drove his car through John Featherston's office, we don't need him around, I don't think. And some of them are just animals. The ones, the rapists. Yeah, you're right.
Like the gang members, stuff like
and the
that.
rapists, the guy who was, all obviously they're animals.
And I have no problem with legal immigration. No problem.
Yeah.
This country was more or less founded upon it, but these other people gotta go, and you and I have to stop paying for it. I mean, I'll pay. I guess we'll pay to get them out, but after that, we're no more paying for this crap. Sorry for the long message. Thanks, guys. See ya.
It's okay. It's okay.
It's a good one. Chubby New Hampshire says he's going to read War and Peace on the chat. But Mark Sardella thanks you for setting some limits on the chat.
There we go. Thank you. My pleasure.
Hey, guys, just a couple points of clarification. One, I do own land overseas, but my house is in Sicily, not Italy. A little bit of a difference.
Is there a difference? Isn't Sicily part of Italy? Or is this a pride thing? Not as in rainbow, but...
No, I know. I thought it was, like, technically part of Italy, but
yeah,
I could
thought
be
it was
wrong.
part of Italy. Right?
I mean, yeah, I know Sicily's not on, like, mainland Italy.
Yeah. The
If you start to type "is Sicily" into Google, it says, "Is Sicily part of Italy?" It is one of 5 Italian autonomous regions and is generally considered part of southern Italy.
Okay.
But I am a dual citizen, which is great. So I get to vote in both elections. Haven't yet, but I'm looking forward to voting for Giorgia Meloni because to me, she's a female Trump and she's awesome. And she's really revitalized, Italy, Sicily, and Sardinia with everything that she brought in under her leadership, all the changes, which has been wonderful.
That's great.
Downside is I got to pay property taxes, which is gross because I'm only there 1 or 2 times a year.
Well, maybe if you and Georgia start dating, you'll be there more often.
Here you go. Here you go.
But, the time I am there is definitely an enjoyment. Other than that, the other thing, Tom, unfortunately, as much as I would love to, I am not currently dating Casey Smith. She is a friend, great person, talk to her every so often. But she's spoken for, unfortunately. But that's about it, guys. Take care.
Yeah, good-looking, handsome woman, Casey Smith. Well, you had your dalliance anyway.
Well, it just means he's available for Giorgia Meloni.
There we go.
I don't know if you've seen this video of Antique Roadshow where this lady this goes on. She found this collar thing and she thought it belonged to a slave, and she goes, yeah, I'd like to thank my my ancestors. They freed this slave, and they were just really good people. Yeah, I'd really like. I just want to know how much this is worth. We're just good people.
I love that.
She goes on and on in the story about how her family possibly rescued slaves, and then the guy who tells the value of antiques calmly says, "This is a dog collar."
Oh, that's great! I gotta find this cut.
God.
I gotta find that. I am bothered by Antique Roadshow only because...
Why? Because you're jealous of people who their things are worth a lot of money?
No, I'm jealous because, let's see, is this it? Here we go.
I think that my relatives helped to free the slaves, and that was one of the ones that they freed, or maybe they found. I think that this is the name of the slave holder and then the name of the slave underneath it.
It's a dog collar.
Oh, that's great. That's great. I would like to see the whole thing. Not a bad looking lady, but yeah, the only problem I have with Antique Roadshow, that's the one that's in here in Massachusetts too, right?
I think they go around. It's a road show, I think. I think they go around to different places.
There's one that's sometimes at Cambridge. Is that the guy's name is Marky Mark. Mark Wahlberg.
Oh, but he's not Mark Wahlberg.
He's not. He's lying. Yeah, so that bothers me. Okay, where were we? By the way, Justin, I find your media consumption interesting. Should be playing. Is it possible I need to unplug and replug in the thing?
I have no idea.
Hold on. All right, hold on.
Okay.
Hold on, Alice.
I'm holding on.
You're still there, right?
I'm still here.
Okay. Okay. I think I have to unplug and replug in the thing. You ready?
Yeah, Tommy in New Hampshire said the chick on that is stacked.
Yeah, he's right. How's he know?
He's apparently seen it. He said it's hilarious. It's on X.
Yeah, you're right about that. Not that I noticed that, but you did. Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here we go. We're back. Ready?
I'm back. I'm ready.
Is this not going to do it?
How are your audio settings?
I think those are all fine. Let me try pulling the car. No, it's not playing. Oh, this is no good.
That's strange. It was working a minute ago.
Start working again. Oh, it's not. I'm not even recording anymore because.
Did you close something? That was supposed to be.
But it doesn't matter. I can't hear. So.
Well, I can hear. Well, I wasn't hearing the audio you were playing, but I hear our microphone.
I know, but this is stopped working. This has happened a few times. This is watch. It'll work in a second. It'll work now.
Oh. That's interesting.
Hold on. Hold on, Joe. All right, here we go. Ready, Alice?
I'm so ready.
Time to recover. Well, who knows what the finished product will be? Didn't we get the comment recently that said, I thought this was supposed to be a professional podcast? I was like, no, it is not a professional podcast. I am a radio professional. That is true. With this podcast, several things have happened tonight during this podcast that are not acceptable to any standard.
100% correct. Yes, I would vote for Kirk over Kamala. Dumb question. Not of yours, but dumb question. Who wouldn't? My grandmother, who had dementia, who referred to me as Pete for the last 10 years of her life, and I ran with it. She was better off, just like our current president, than Kamala. I would vote for the dummy that doesn't know where he is over that complete piece of trash that was and is still Kamala Harris. So dumb question. Dumb answer as a result, but dumb question. And again, no depiction of you, Alice. It was you just repeating what was said. So more stupidity. So I'm at a point where I can't help myself, as I said before. Sorry, guys, but thanks for what you do. See ya.
Thanks, Paul. Appreciate that.
So did I miss anything? It's been a while since I've been on chatting and whatnot. Any news? I've been quite busy.
Oh, what's
any
going on?
drama? Any infighting?
No infighting. No drama.
Alice is pregnant again. Anything?
Are you pregnant again?
No.
Oh God. It's triplets.
Oh, that's not funny. I just met karate. I just talked to a guy I went to high school with who's at karate. He's a good guy. And there's a difference. He's got one kid, and I've had 17, and there's a difference. He's like, "How's life? How are things going?" And I was like,
You're gonna miss this.
Yeah.
Hey, Tom and Alice.
Hey, Charlie.
I'm calling you from the Ipswich Town Wharf. It's dead low tide here on Tuesday afternoon.
Here we go.
I just wanted to address the Kirk Minahan, Donald Trump thing.
Is that something you said yesterday? Is this what Paul was talking about?
Paul and Charlie are talking about because Steve from Gloucester was saying that, how can they be for Donald Trump and against Kirk because they're fighting the establishment and they're like,
oh, I see. Okay. Steve's takes come from a very different place.
I listen to podcasts because I would like to be entertained.
Yeah.
And I listened to Kirk for like a year or so,
Mhm.
and then I don't know, for whatever reason, I stopped listening to him because, you know, I want to be entertained or informed when I listen to a podcast. And when it comes to voting for a president, I want to vote for the best person that's going to do the job. He doesn't have to really entertain me, although Trump does have an entertainment quality to him. But I don't really have to be entertained or necessarily agree with everything he says. As long as he steers the country in the correct direction, I'm happy with that.
Here we go.
But that's
Charlie.
my 2 cents on it. Thanks.
Good, clear thinking, Charlie. Well done. We love Ipswich, by the way. It used to be Ipswich to us used to be a solar system away, and now it's just down the street, which I love. All right.
Hey guys, it's Dave in Florida.
Hey Dave.
Hey Dave.
That was one heck of a interview with John last night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm like, when they hold hearings, hopefully they'll hold hearings next year
Mm-hmm.
in Congress about sanctuary cities, sanctuary states, and the damage it's doing. He's got to be testifying.
Totally.
Well, that was some crazy info and important to the messaging. So, excellent interview and great guest. And yeah, that's all. Bye.
Thanks so much. We really appreciate that. Lucky to be in Florida. Yeah, no doubt. He'd be fantastic being there. And by the way, like, why does it have to be stew? What, like, ingrates? Like, no, first of all, you need to serve us cat, which is going to make you a pariah in the neighborhood, in the greater community. But we need it to be cat, and it has to be stewed cat.
You know,
it can't just be cat on a spit that's roasting in the fire.
You know
nope, it has to be carefully stewed cat.
You know what would be crazy? And like, I mean, it's probably going to end up happening because Trump sort of never misses with this stuff. You ever notice Trump says like something outrageous and then it turns out to be like completely true?
Yeah, of course.
But it would not surprise me if it turns out that like the eating cats is like actually a really big thing that's like been getting covered up.
Oh, totally.
What's up? Thank you so much, everybody, for listening and for leaving chat messages. And
Cyril.
We'll see what happens if people are going to try and stick to Tom's 15, 30, and 60 plan. But you know, we appreciate all of you and great chat today. Thank you for your vote of confidence on the John Featherston interview. We're going to keep talking about it. Appreciate you guys. If you want to join us for live chats, patreon.com/burnbarrel.